I want to tell you something that might feel strangely comforting. The future isn't what's hurting you right now. It's the stories your mind keeps telling you about it. Maybe you've noticed it too. You could be sitting on your couch, drinking coffee, scrolling through your phone, and suddenly your chest gets tight. Nothing bad is happening. Nobody called with terrible news. Nothing has actually gone wrong. But your mind is already living 3 months from now, or 5 years from now. What if I lose my job? What if I never become successful? What if I get sick? What if I make the wrong choice? What if everything falls apart? And before you know it, you've spent 20 minutes worrying about a future that doesn't even exist yet. It's exhausting. What's even more exhausting is when people say things like, "Just stop worrying." If it were that simple, you would have stopped a long time ago. You don't wake up in the morning hoping to spend your day imagining disasters. You don't choose to carry this weight. It just happens. And after a while, you start wondering if something is wrong with you. Maybe you've even thought, why can't my brain just be normal? But here's something most people never hear. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect it. The problem is, sometimes it protects you a little too much. Imagine having a smoke alarm in your house. Normally, it goes off when there's a real fire. That's helpful. But imagine if it also screamed every time you made toast. Or boiled water. Or lit a candle. Eventually you'd spend your whole day jumping every time it made a sound. That's what fear of the future can feel like. Your mind starts treating every possibility like it's already a real emergency. It can't tell the difference between, "this could happen someday," and, "this is happening right now." So your body reacts. Your heart races. Your stomach feels tight. Your shoulders tense up. You can't focus. And suddenly you're fighting a battle that only exists inside your imagination. That doesn't mean the fear feels fake. It feels very real. Because your body doesn't know the difference. It only knows the message it's receiving. And the message is, danger. Maybe this has been your life for a long time. Maybe every decision feels heavy. You spend hours comparing options. You replay conversations. You imagine every possible mistake. You tell yourself you're just being responsible. But deep down, you know it's something else. It's fear wearing the mask of planning. There's a big difference between preparing for tomorrow and living inside tomorrow. Preparing takes a little time. Living there steals today. Think about how many sunsets you've missed because your mind was somewhere else. How many dinners tasted bland because you were mentally solving problems that hadn't happened. How many hugs you barely felt. How many weekends disappeared. Not because life was bad, but because your thoughts were somewhere far away. And here's something that breaks my heart. People who fear the future often think they're protecting themselves from pain. But without realizing it, they're also protecting themselves from joy. Because you can't fully enjoy this moment while constantly interviewing tomorrow. It's like trying to watch a movie while someone whispers worst-case scenarios into your ear every 30 seconds. You miss what's right in front of you. Now, I want to ask you something. When was the last time one of your biggest fears actually happened exactly the way you imagined it? Really think about it. Your mind probably created hundreds, maybe thousands, of scary stories over the years. How many became reality? Very few. And even when something difficult did happen, was it exactly like your imagination predicted? Probably not. Life is strange that way. The future almost never arrives wearing the costume our anxiety designed for it. But here's the tricky part. Your brain doesn't remember all the fears that never happened. It remembers the few that did. So it keeps saying, "See? I told you worrying helps." Except, worry didn't stop those things. You just survived them. That's different. This is where things get interesting. Most people think fear of the future comes from not knowing what's going to happen. But that's only half the story. A lot of the time, the real fear is not trusting yourself to handle whatever happens. Read that again in your mind. You're not only afraid of tomorrow. You're afraid that tomorrow will be too much for you. Maybe that's because life has knocked you down before. Maybe people let you down. Maybe you trusted someone who broke your heart. Maybe you failed at something that mattered. Maybe you lost something you thought you'd always have. Little by little, your confidence in life became smaller. Not because you're weak. Because you've been carrying invisible bruises. And bruises make us flinch before we're even touched. Imagine someone who was bitten by a dog years ago. The next time they hear barking, their body reacts before they even think. Fear of the future works the same way. Old pain teaches your mind to expect more pain. Not because it's certain. Because it wants to avoid being surprised again. That's why healing isn't about convincing yourself that nothing bad will ever happen. Because that's impossible. Life will always have surprises. People will disappoint us. Plans will change. Dreams will take longer than expected. Sometimes things will hurt. Real healing sounds more like this. I don't know what's coming, but I trust myself a little more than I used to. That sentence changes everything. Because now you're not asking the future to become safe. You're becoming stronger. There's a huge difference. You know something funny? When little kids learn to walk, they fall over constantly. They don't sit on the floor thinking, what if I fall again? They just stand back up. Not because falling doesn't hurt, because they haven't learned to fear it yet. Somewhere along the way, many of us stopped trusting our ability to get back up. We became experts at predicting pain. But beginners at believing in ourselves. And that's a lonely place to live. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe every night your brain starts another meeting you never asked for. One thought becomes 5. 5 become 50. You check the clock. It's 2:13 in the morning. You tell yourself you'll sleep after solving one more problem. Except there isn't a problem. Only possibilities. Anxiety loves unfinished stories. It keeps writing endings. Bad endings. Again and again. Here's something you can try tonight. Not to erase fear. Just to loosen its grip. When your mind says, what if everything goes wrong? Don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Just quietly answer, maybe. But what if something goes right too? Notice something. You didn't force positive thinking. You simply reminded your brain that it doesn't actually know the future. Anxious minds often act like fortune tellers. Confident minds admit they don't have the script. And honestly, not knowing isn't always scary. Sometimes it's beautiful. Think about the best moments of your life. The people you met. The opportunities you never expected. The random conversations that changed everything. You probably didn't see those coming either. The future doesn't only hide pain. It also hides miracles. But fear has a way of covering that part of the map. There's another habit that quietly feeds fear of the future. Trying to solve your entire life today. Have you ever done that? You sit down to think about one decision. Within minutes you're planning the next 10 years. Your career. Money. Relationships. Health. Family. Retirement. Every possible version of your life. It's overwhelming. Because no human being can carry 10 years inside one afternoon. Life isn't built that way. Imagine driving at night. Your headlights don't light up the whole road. They only show a little bit ahead. Yet somehow, people still reach their destination. Not because they saw every mile. Because they kept moving. Your life works the same way. You don't need the whole map today. You only need enough light for the next few steps. Your mind will argue with this. It'll say, but what if I make the wrong decision? Here's something that helped me understand decisions differently. Most choices aren't doors that lock forever. They're roads. If one road doesn't work, you can often turn. You can adjust. You can learn. People imagine life as one perfect decision followed by happiness forever. Real life is thousands of imperfect decisions gently corrected along the way. You don't have to get everything right. You just have to keep listening to yourself. That takes so much pressure off. Progress starts looking different too. It isn't waking up fearless. It's catching yourself a little sooner. It's noticing your thoughts before they spiral for an hour. It's taking one deep breath instead of 20 shallow ones. It's going for a walk instead of sitting with panic all evening. It's calling a friend. It's laughing in the middle of a difficult week and realizing, oh, I forgot I could still do that. Healing is rarely dramatic. It's usually quiet. So quiet that you almost miss it. One day you realize you enjoyed breakfast without thinking about next year. Another day you notice you made a decision in 10 minutes instead of 3 days. One evening you fall asleep without replaying every possible disaster. Those moments matter. They're proof that your nervous system is learning something new. Safety. Not because life became predictable. Because you slowly became less afraid of uncertainty. And uncertainty will always be part of being alive. Every love story begins with uncertainty. Every dream. Every friendship. Every adventure. If we removed uncertainty from life, we'd also remove surprise. Wonder. Discovery. Growth. Fear wants certainty. Life offers possibility. Those aren't the same thing. So if you're listening to this while worrying about tomorrow, I hope you'll remember one small thing. You have survived every version of yourself so far. The scared one. The heartbroken one. The confused one. The lonely one. The exhausted one. The one who thought they couldn't keep going. Somehow, you're still here. Not because life has been easy. Because you're far more capable than fear wants you to believe. The future doesn't need you to predict it. It needs you to meet it. One ordinary day at a time. One conversation. One sunrise. One decision. One breath. You don't have to carry next month tonight. You don't have to solve next year before breakfast. You don't have to earn peace by figuring everything out. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop demanding certainty from a future that has never promised it. And maybe, just maybe, the life you're so afraid of losing hasn't even had the chance to surprise you yet. So tonight, if your mind starts racing again, don't hate it. It's only trying to keep you safe. Smile at it gently. Thank it for caring. Then remind it that you'll face tomorrow together when tomorrow finally arrives. Because the future has never needed a perfect version of you. It has only ever needed the real one who keeps showing up, one day at a time. There was something I used to notice over and over again. People would tell me, I'm scared of the future. But after talking for a while, we'd realize something surprising. They weren't actually living in the future. They were living inside a movie their mind had created. And here's the strange part. That movie always had the same director. Fear. Fear never writes happy endings. It doesn't know how. Give fear a blank page, and it'll fill it with everything that could go wrong. You'll lose the job. You'll end up alone. You'll fail. People will judge you. You'll regret your choices forever. It tells these stories with so much confidence that you almost forget they're just guesses. Not facts. Think about watching a scary movie. Your heart beats faster. Your muscles tighten. You might even jump when something suddenly appears on the screen. Your body reacts as if it's real. Even though another part of you knows you're sitting safely on your couch. Anxiety works almost the same way. Except instead of watching a movie on a screen, you're watching one inside your own head. The pictures feel so real that your body responds before logic has a chance to speak. That's why trying to argue with anxiety doesn't always work. Logic is talking to your brain. Fear is talking to your body. Your body needs reassurance more than debate. Maybe you've noticed this before. Someone tells you, everything will be okay. For about 5 seconds, you feel better. Then another thought appears. But what if they're wrong? That's because reassurance has an expiration date. Your mind keeps asking for another dose. And another. And another. Soon you're checking Google. Watching videos. Reading articles. Asking friends. Looking for someone who can guarantee your future. But no one can. And that's frustrating. Because anxious minds crave guarantees. Life gives probabilities. Never promises. This is why reassurance can quietly become addictive. For a moment, it calms you. Then the relief fades. Then you're searching again. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much reassurance you pour in, it leaks back out. Real peace comes from fixing the hole. Not from carrying bigger buckets. So what is the hole? The belief that uncertainty is dangerous. But uncertainty isn't always danger. Sometimes it's simply life. Think about meeting someone new. You don't know if they'll become a close friend. You don't know if they'll stay in your life. Yet you still say hello. Starting a new job is uncertain. Falling in love is uncertain. Moving to a new city is uncertain. Even tomorrow morning is uncertain. If certainty were required before taking action, nobody would ever begin anything. Yet somehow, people do. Not because they're fearless. Because they slowly learn that uncertainty isn't the enemy. Avoiding life is. There's another trap that fear of the future loves to build. It whispers, I'll finally relax after I solve this. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's finding the right partner. Maybe it's buying a house. Maybe it's reaching a certain age. Maybe it's finally becoming successful. You tell yourself, once that happens, then I'll feel safe. But have you ever noticed what usually happens? You solve one problem. Your brain immediately finds another. It's almost impressive. You reach one goal, then start worrying about keeping it. You save money, now you're afraid of losing it. You find love, now you're afraid they'll leave. You finally get the promotion, now you're afraid you won't be good enough. Fear keeps moving the finish line. Because the goal was never the goal. Safety was. And external achievements can never fully create internal safety. That's why some people who seem to have everything, still lie awake at night. Because anxiety doesn't care how successful you look. It only cares how safe you feel. Here's something gentle to remember. Your mind isn't broken because it imagines bad things. That's what imagination does. The same imagination that creates beautiful dreams, can also create scary ones. The problem isn't imagination. It's believing every story it tells. Imagine sitting beside a river. Leaves float by on the water. Some are big. Some are tiny. Some disappear quickly. Others move slowly. Thoughts are like those leaves. You don't have to jump into the river and chase every single one. You can simply watch them pass. I might fail. There's a leaf. What if I never figure life out? Another leaf. What if everyone else is ahead of me? Another one. Notice it. Let it float. You don't have to wrestle every thought that enters your mind. Not every visitor deserves a conversation. This becomes especially important when you compare yourself to other people. Social media has made this so much harder. You open your phone for 2 minutes. Someone bought a house. Someone got married. Someone started a business. Someone is traveling the world. Someone seems happier. Someone seems richer. Someone looks like they've got life completely figured out. Meanwhile, you're sitting there wondering if you're already falling behind. But here's what your phone never shows. The panic attacks. The arguments. The debt. The lonely nights. The uncertainty. The tears in the bathroom before the smiling photo was taken. Every life has chapters nobody posts online. When you compare your inside to someone else's highlight reel, you'll always lose. Your future starts looking smaller simply because someone else's present looks brighter. That's not reality. That's a carefully edited snapshot. Life isn't a competition where everyone starts on the same day. Some people bloom early. Some bloom later. Some completely change direction at 40. Some find love at 50. Some discover the work they were meant to do after years of feeling lost. Human lives aren't trains running on one schedule. They're more like rivers. Each one finds its own path. Sometimes slowly. Sometimes suddenly. Sometimes after hitting 100 rocks. And that's okay. Maybe one reason the future feels so scary is because you think you're running out of time. That thought can become incredibly heavy. You look at your age. You start doing invisible math. I should have achieved more by now. I should already know what I'm doing. I should have my life together. Who made those rules? Seriously. Where did they come from? Most of us inherited timelines we never chose. By this age, you should have this. By that age, you should have that. But life doesn't read those schedules. Life keeps surprising people every single day. Some of the happiest people you'll ever meet spent years believing they had missed their chance. Until one ordinary day changed everything. The future has a funny habit of arriving in ways we never planned. That's why it's worth leaving a little room for surprises. Not just disasters. Good surprises too. Because the truth is, your anxiety is creative. But hope can be creative too, and maybe it's time to let both possibilities exist. Maybe you've been waiting for the day when fear finally disappears. The day you wake up, smile, and think, that's it. I'm never going to worry again. I wish life worked that way. But it usually doesn't. Fear isn't something we defeat once and never see again. It's something we learn to live beside without letting it drive the car. Imagine you're taking a long road trip. Fear is sitting in the back seat. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it keeps talking. Sometimes it points at every dark cloud and says, "See? We're in trouble." For a long time, maybe you let it sit in the driver's seat. Every decision came from fear. Every delay. Every, maybe later. Every opportunity you turned down. Not because you didn't want it. Because you were trying to avoid getting hurt. But healing isn't throwing fear out of the car. It's gently asking it to move over. You take the wheel. Fear can still come along. It just doesn't get to decide where your life goes. That shift sounds small. It changes everything. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving anyway. Think about someone learning to swim. The first time they step into deep water, they're scared. Their heart beats faster. Their muscles tense up. But every time they stay in the water a little longer, their body learns something. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm okay. That's how confidence grows. Not from avoiding fear. From surviving it. This is why avoiding every scary situation makes anxiety stronger. Every time you avoid something, your brain quietly writes down a lesson. Good thing we escaped. That must have been dangerous. The next time, the fear is even bigger. Then bigger. Then bigger. Your world slowly becomes smaller. Maybe you've noticed this happening. First you avoid one conversation. Then another. Then you stop applying for jobs. You stop traveling. You stop meeting new people. You stop trying new things. Not because you don't want to. Because fear convinced you staying still was safer. But staying still has its own kind of pain. It's the pain of watching life move while you stand on the sidelines. Years pass quietly that way. And one day the question changes. It isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I never really lived? That's a heartbreaking question. Because the greatest regrets usually don't come from the risks we took. They come from the moments fear talked us out of becoming ourselves. Now, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I'm not saying you should suddenly make huge life changes tomorrow. That's not how real change works. Real change is usually almost boring. It's tiny. It's answering the email you've been avoiding. Making the phone call. Going for the walk. Applying for one opportunity. Having one honest conversation. Getting out of bed even when your mind says not to. Small actions teach your nervous system something that thoughts never can. I can do hard things. And every time you prove that to yourself, fear loses a little bit of its authority. Here's something else I hope you'll remember. Your mind loves asking, what if? But you get to finish the sentence. What if I embarrass myself? Maybe. But what if people understand? What if I fail? Maybe. But what if you learn something that changes your life? What if this doesn't work out? Maybe. But what if it leads you somewhere better than you planned? Life has always been bigger than your predictions. Both the painful ones, and the beautiful ones. If you look back, you'll probably find moments that felt like endings. The breakup that crushed you. The job you didn't get. The dream that fell apart. At the time, it felt like your story was over. But it wasn't. You kept going. New people entered your life. New opportunities appeared. You changed in ways you couldn't have imagined. Back then, you couldn't see any of that. Today, you can. One day, you'll probably look back at this season the same way. The thing that's keeping you awake tonight may become the story you barely remember years from now. Not because it wasn't hard, because you grew through it. Growth has a quiet way of making old fears look smaller. Before we finish, I want you to do something with me. Wherever you are, take one slow breath. Not because breathing magically fixes anxiety. But because this breath is happening now. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Feel your feet touching the floor. Notice the chair beneath you. Listen for one sound around you. Maybe it's a fan. Maybe it's traffic. Maybe it's complete silence. For just a few seconds, come back to this moment. Because this moment is the only place where life is actually happening. Your mind will leave again. That's okay. Bring it back again. And again. Not perfectly. Just gently. Over time, those little returns become a habit. And that habit becomes peace. Not perfect peace. Human peace. The kind that makes room for uncertainty without letting it steal your life. If nobody has told you this lately, let me be the one to say it. You don't have to earn the right to feel calm. You don't have to solve every problem before you're allowed to smile. You don't have to know exactly where your life is going before you can enjoy today. You're allowed to laugh while things are still uncertain. You're allowed to rest before everything is finished. You're allowed to hope even when you don't have all the answers. That isn't weakness. It's trust. Trust that life can still surprise you. Trust that you'll figure out more than you think. Trust that the version of you waiting in the future is stronger than the one who's worrying about it today. So tonight, when your mind starts asking, what if everything falls apart? You don't have to win the argument. Just answer softly. If that day ever comes, I'll meet it then. But tonight, I'm here. Because the truth is, the future has never asked you to carry it all at once. It has only ever asked you to take the next step. And the next step. And then another. One ordinary moment at a time. One imperfect choice at a time. One hopeful breath at a time. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it's always been enough. And maybe the life you've been so afraid of isn't waiting to break you. Maybe it's quietly waiting to show you just how much stronger, kinder, and more resilient you've been all along. So when tomorrow arrives, don't try to control every second of it. Just meet it. With open hands. A steady breath. And the quiet confidence that whatever comes, you won't have to face it before it gets here. Because your peace begins the moment you stop trying to live tomorrow, and finally allow yourself to come home to today.